Humans, throughout their entire lives, must face themselves. The suffering and anxiety of a person mainly stem from a mind constantly turning outward, thinking incessantly. Enlightenment, truly, is letting go of the mind, escaping the control of thoughts, and fully living in the present moment. The present moment is freedom at a higher level. Only then can we achieve harmony between action and mind. Ultimately, through practice, we allow the enlightened self to take back control of the body and return to a new life, living without regression, with inner joy and peace. No matter how many theories you learn, if you cannot live in the present, you have not truly begun to practice. Only when you feel and experience the present do you realize that your past is trapped in the world of the mind, unable to break free. I know, your life is very busy. Even so, the things I say are not easy to absorb, especially difficult to master. If you only listen once, my advice is to review until the end, listen repeatedly. When you have free time, or while doing household chores, share and save the playlist for your convenience. I am certain that, within a few short months, your thinking will advance remarkably, reaching a new height. The ancient sages greet you warmly. The mind, outside, has no objects. There are no objects outside the mind. This content requires deep contemplation and analysis, for it is not easy to understand. Those of you who have followed me from the beginning will notice that what I share always stimulates the mind and thinking profoundly. This is not content for the masses. I will use simple language to clearly explain the mind, outside, has no objects. If you can understand this content, you will escape conflict, suffering, and internal depletion, break free from illusions, and be able to think independently, transcending human nature. The things people often care about, like wealth, are merely products of understanding the psychology and emotions of others. Flowers on the mountain bloom and fade on their own. What does that have to do with your mind? When you haven't seen this flower, it and your mind return to a silent place. When you see this flower, it suddenly shines brightly in your mind. You then realize the flower is not outside your mind. That is, the mind outside has no objects. This part is hard to grasp, isn't it? Take it slowly, relax, and keep listening. Don't simply assume this is idealism. When you don't truly understand what someone expresses, you are merely using yourself to measure their thoughts. Everything you see is just a flower in your mind. So, what does it have to do with the actual flower? First, you must understand the relationship between what is observed and the observer. I use Schrödinger's cat experiment to explain this. Schrödinger, an Irish physicist of Austrian origin, is someone whose works you can look up and read. Schrödinger placed a cat in a sealed box, along with a radioactive substance. This substance has a 50% chance of releasing toxic gas, killing the cat, and a 50% chance of not releasing the gas, letting the cat survive. This means both outcomes are possible. The cat may be dead or alive. But for us, the observers outside, only by opening the box can we see the result. When the box is closed, the cat, to the observer, is both dead and alive in an indeterminate state. Only when the observer opens the box is the cat's state, alive or dead, determined. This means the final outcome the cat exhibits is due to the interaction between the observer and the cat, not just the cat alone. Let's return to the flower on the mountain. If humans don't see the flower, it doesn't exist. Humans only see the surface, the atoms, neutrons, and electrons inside the flower, constantly in motion. The true inner workings of the flower, humans cannot see. Humans can only see the flower's vibrant colors, its shape. But the flower humans see is not the real flower. So, what does the real flower have to do with you? Nothing. You only see the flower in your mind. Thus, the flower is not outside your mind. Next, we will go one step deeper. This is quite profound, and the following content will be very challenging. What secret does the mind, outside, has no objects truly hold? When a thought arises, you observe its benefits and harms. If it feels beneficial to you, you keep it. If not, you may discard it. This is what we're used to doing, right? So, I ask you, who is observing that thought? Who is watching it? In fact, it's you, the center of yourself, observing it. But what is the nature of this center? This center is simply a collection of all your past thoughts. At this point, can you understand? What is called your center is just a combination of all the thoughts over time. So, going back to the beginning, we said your center judges a newly arisen thought, whether it's good or bad. In other words, the collection of all your past thoughts is evaluating this new thought. And the new thought is a rational part, born from all your past thoughts, a part of that collective. Thus, you cannot destroy your emotions, thoughts, or feelings. Even if you're heartbroken, sad, or anxious, you cannot eliminate these thoughts with your center because the thoughts are part of it. What the observer sees is you. When you can understand this, all distinctions, oppositions, and attachments immediately disappear. All internal depletion vanishes. You will discover that this world has no others, only a blank expanse. You see, everything is just your mind, with no dualistic distinction. That is, the mind outside has no objects. However, in this world, most people struggle to become observers. They confuse phenomena with the mind. When you can become an observer, you can see the traces of human personality, emotions, and the flow of wealth. When you see a river, you are outside the river. When you see a mountain, you are outside the mountain. When you can see any of your emotions, you are outside that emotion. You are the observer of yourself, and that is enlightenment. How can an ordinary person become enlightened? An ordinary person, throughout their life, may never self-reflect. But who will self-reflect? It's those who have faced failure or want to achieve something great. However, ordinary people don't aim for great things. At most, they have big ambitions. This means when a person can calm their mind, it's not necessarily about sitting still, drinking tea, or reading books. These are not important. What matters is their mind can be stable, can self-observe. Then, the mind will naturally emerge, and that is realization, clear awareness. True happiness revolves around your state of mind. Happiness is not excitement, but a steady curve. Even in a low state, you can feel happy. For example, in daily life, we often think a happy life is laughing every day, being joyful every day, encountering good things every day. But in reality, when facing a traffic accident, being late, not earning money, or even losing money, if your mind doesn't waver, that is happiness. To illustrate this, I'll give an example. When playing games or watching movies, why can we watch movies? Because we know we are the viewer. Whether it's a horror movie or a tragedy, we know it's just a movie. But when we leave the theater and those events happen in our lives, our minds waver. We borrow this body to watch a movie, knowing it's fake. But when we return home, we think it's real. Thus, self-observation, also called deep listening, is realizing that life is a game. This is a very advanced stage. Not everyone can grasp. They can work, earn money, love, stay healthy, and laugh. But not everyone understands that everything is an illusion. This is called the wondrous mind of nirvana, the mystical spirituality of nirvana. The wondrous mind of nirvana is the true mind, the real essence of the human mind. Ordinary people have two parts. One is the inner mind, the other is the physical body. The true mind is a process from the real form, the tangible image, to the formless without image. When we watch a movie, we know it's an image projected on the screen. It's fake. But when we leave the theater, we think life is real. In fact, everyone lives in a dark room. The brain cannot live outside. It's always in the skull. Thus, it's always in a dark room, unable to distinguish between real and unreal. Formless here means transcendence. Formless doesn't mean no image, but that everything is an image. When we understand that everything is an image, we realize only images can transcend. We know it's an image when we see it. When we step away from the phone, the screen, we become confused and the brain assumes everything is real. The true mind has no real image. Everything we think is real is only because we see and experience it. That's the difference between a perfect image and a real image. Only when we understand this can we talk about dependent arising, dependent cessation, the beginning and end of conditions, the subtle and constant change in conditions which cannot be controlled. Thus, we shouldn't cling to change. We can only use change, not control it. This is why earning money must follow objective laws. If you see forms as not forms, you see the Tathagata. The Tathagata is the true mind. Humans, throughout their lives, must face themselves. The suffering and anxiety of a person mainly stem from the mind turning outward, thinking incessantly. To make it easier, I'll tell a famous story. A young monk asked his master, "Master, before you were enlightened, what did you do?" The master replied, "Chopping wood, carrying water, cooking rice." The young monk asked, "After you were enlightened, what did you do?" The master answered, "Still chopping wood, carrying water, cooking rice." The young monk, confused, asked, "Before and after enlightenment, what's the difference?" The old master said, "Before enlightenment, when chopping wood, I thought of carrying water. When carrying water, I thought of cooking rice. When cooking rice, I thought of chopping wood. After enlightenment, when chopping wood, I only chop wood. When carrying water, I only carry water. When cooking rice, I only cook rice." I believe you deeply understand the meaning of this story. Enlightenment, truly, is letting go of the mind, escaping the control of thoughts, and fully living in the present moment. The present moment is freedom at a higher level. Only then can we achieve harmony between action and mind. Ultimately, through practice, we let the enlightened self take back control of the body, return to a new life, living without regression, with inner joy and peace. Practice is not superficial learning, but training in daily life, amid constant changes and difficulties. Always maintain patience, for your troubles are not accumulated in just 1 or 2 days and cannot be resolved instantly. Difficulties and annoyances are normal, but always keep patience and compassion. When your mind endlessly tells stories, be patient, be the observer, treat the mind like a child, and listen to it. Say to it, "Dear mind, I know what you're thinking and how you feel." What else do you want to say? When you begin to quietly, patiently observe without judgment, the mind will gradually calm down like a kitten. No matter how many theories you learn, if you cannot live in the present, you have not truly begun to practice. Only when you feel and experience the present do you realize your past is trapped in the world of the mind, unable to break free. Next, I will share a method to help you live in the present, one I've used for a long time. It's the self-check method by setting periodic alarms. You can set 3 to 5 alarms a day or more to remind and check if you're chasing thoughts of the past or future. When the alarm rings, immediately check yourself. If you find you're not in the present, pull your attention back instantly. You can focus on a body part or an object for a few minutes, or breathe deeply and focus on your breath. Anything works as long as you regain attention from the mind. If setting alarms is inconvenient, you can build a habit of checking yourself at every hour to see if you're living in the past or future. If so, pull back your attention and do a 2-minute focus exercise. When you persist for 30 days, making it a habit and instinct, you will see changes and wondrous energy. These are simple but very effective methods. The so-called great wisdom seems foolish, great skill seems clumsy is like this. We need to train enlightenment and unwavering focus. This requires persistent, continuous practice. Eventually, your skills will deepen. Without you saying, those around you will notice your change. They will see you have a new state and wisdom, and they will want to approach and connect with you. By then, you will see those around you change too. Negative people will be removed, and positive people will appear. Next, let's talk about selflessness. Others looking at you is not you. You looking at others is you. First, does this mean that when you see someone's behavior and think they're sensitive, suspicious, emotional, cunning, unapproachable, stingy, hypocritical, and so on, it means you're like that? Certainly not. It can't be understood that way. Think about it. In your life, how many people have you judged? How many labels have you placed on others? How many different judgments have you made? Does that mean you carry all those labels? Surely you don't think so, right? So what is this really saying? In fact, it's saying that when you judge a person or their behavior in a dualistic way, when you define what kind of person they are, that's when you've fallen into a state of discriminative mind. In Buddhism, at that moment, you live in the thoughts in your head, more precisely in the standards, concepts, and perceptions of society. Because you have those standards and perceptions, you judge the external world that way. For example, when you judge someone as cunning, it shows that, at that moment, you're using your own standard of cunning and not cunning. This is a dualistic way of thinking, belonging to your mind. This is not the real you. Every small reaction of yours is a small self. When you are no longer yourself, you become countless small selves. The moment you judge the world, you become a self belonging to the layer of conscious thought. You think you're observing, but in fact, you're losing the ability to observe. Your awareness is lost. You've fallen into dualistic thinking and automatic concepts. These small selves will never let your inner peace rest. They're the ramblings that cause you suffering, the hooks and attachments that pull you into pain. The so-called you looking at others is actually just your reaction when facing this world. Thus, others in your eyes are not others, but you. More precisely, it's your reaction, your discriminative mind, your inner turmoil. What is the second layer of meaning? If the first layer is for you to recognize yourself, to be aware that a self exists, the second layer is for you to truly dissolve that self. How do you do this? You need to, by seeing your social habits and reactions, immediately raise your alertness, remind and check yourself to see if you have those habits. Do you have those traits? You need to avoid them. This is seeing others' faults, reflecting on yourself. Honestly, far better than posting on social media to self-criticize 3 times a day. Thus, a true practitioner, a bodhisattva observing freely, will always stay alert, vigilant, and enlightened. They will realize that others in their eyes are their own inner reactions and immediately take it as an object of observation, not directly considering it as themselves. Because once you consider it as yourself, that is attachment to form. Everyone practice like this. When you can train to the point where, facing the world, no matter how others are, no matter how others treat you, you simply observe freely, constantly dissolving the self that causes you suffering or temporary satisfaction, then you've reached a state of unshakable stillness. You are on the path to selflessness. Finally, here is a secret of ancient wisdom you've never heard. Allow everything to happen and accept all that is unfolding. You will become invincible. The so-called allowing means accepting, understanding, and embracing, blending into everything that comes. When you allow everything to happen, in reality, you are building strength for yourself. Because after allowing, you no longer care about gain or loss. Your soul becomes calm and strong, your body flexible and at ease. When you start allowing everything to happen, external circumstances will also shift accordingly. This is the scene changes with the mind. Understand that everything has only 2 outcomes, either bad or good. If something bad hasn't happened and you worry in advance, that's like experiencing the bad thing twice. Tomorrow, if something good happens, it means you've wasted today for nothing. If something has passed and you can't let go, keep thinking about it. That's even worse, like experiencing the bad thing 3 times. So, before the outcome of anything is clear, handle your negative emotions first. Don't let them affect you. Because your emotions are the true God that governs your fate. I want to remind you of this. In reality, it's your emotions that have hit a dead end, not your life. So, when a new life begins, always remember, we are not immortal. Time is limited. Thus, value yourself more. You need to learn to love yourself before you can love others. You must live in your own passion, not under others' gazes. If you're a flower, grow in your own way, not necessarily becoming a rose, even if the whole world wants you to be a rose. I still hope you can be yourself. So, in the years ahead, start allowing others to be themselves, and allow yourself to be yourself. Accept everything that happens. As long as you don't overly care, no one can hurt you. Also, start doing valuable things. Connect with valuable people. Care less about things unrelated to your goals. In this world, there are only 3 types of matters: the matters of heaven, the matters of others, and your own matters. The matters of heaven we cannot control, so follow nature. The matters of others we don't need to worry about. Each person has their own fate. We can only control our own matters. So, don't waste time and energy on things that don't belong to us. Dedicate them to yourself. Do meaningful things. Become a valuable person. Don't harm yourself. Elevate yourself and explore a new life. Humans, only by allowing everything can wisdom arise. A person who doesn't understand how to handle, accept, and allow will feel powerless before life. Only when you learn to truly accept and allow can you understand the essence of things, turn adversity into opportunity, and change the situation. Remember, truly strong people are those skilled at allowing everything to happen because they understand that only in acceptance and allowing does wisdom arise, and you will see through the essence of everything. When you start learning to accept and allow, immediately you will feel free and liberated. Remember the saying, no concern births wisdom, standing outside births insight. I and I are unrelated. I am outside myself. When you can place yourself in a state of non-attachment, wisdom will naturally emerge. I hope you remember, in this life, the bowl you hold is the rice you eat. The path you walk is the scene you meet. Everything that happens is inevitable. What you experience is all part of the journey. Everything is predestined. It's just a matter of time. So, don't be too hard on yourself. What needs to be let go, let go. Let everything follow its natural course. Gently face life's experiences and return to yourself a life of freedom.